Good morning and happy Tuesday. Welcome back to the Daily Grind. I'm your host, Chump Change. This is live and recorded. For those of you that might be new here, what we typically do is go over crypto news or news in general in the space. Update myself, bring you guys along for the ride. Let's see who's in the house and we'll get into this. Mr. Steven Cicero, good to see you, buddy. All set. Leo Lustig, good morning, sir. We have Kyle Rosa, Andrew Masad, Triple Nickel Technologies. What's up, dude? Daddy Chill. 10 minutes to midnight. Good to see you, man. Alexander, we have Nick K in the house. Good morning. Ava, if that's how you say that name, I'm not sure. I think I might have butchered that. I apologize. Nash, good to see you, buddy. We have Frederico, Edwin, good morning. All right, everybody else I may have missed, I apologize. Look at this freaking market. $87,653 Bitcoin. Look at Ethereum, 3288. But dude, look at Dogecoin. Dogecoin's at 40 cents. Gosh dang. Perfect. That's crazy. 40-cent Dogecoin. We get XRP at 64 cents, 64 and a half to be exact, up 9.81%. Damn. Cas was actually in the red. I kind of want Casper to go down because I took some profits. I want to put it back in. So 14 cents. I'd like to see it come back to like the 10ish, but I doubt it. We'll see. Litecoin, 77 bucks. Litecoin's been really kind of disappointing during this little run up. Everything else is doing really well, and Litecoin's kind of I don't know, just straggling behind. ADA 58 cents, 58.8 to be exact. I kind of want ADA to pull back as well so I can jump back in, but man, is this gonna continue? I really wonder. Render is up to $7. Holy shit, 13%. Nice. This looks really good. Even though things are in the red, everything is like screaming right now. AVAX $34, almost 35 bucks. We have APT over here up to $12. I think that's Aptos. Dot over here up 5% on the day, $5.42 rather. XLM is up to 12 cents. ETC's at 22.80. Man, life is good. Solana 212 bucks. Damn, it's in the red. I like didn't even notice it. That's crazy. Where's oh, BNB 630 bucks. Nice. They swap spaces. Interesting. All right, jumping over to crypto bubbles real quick. I just want to show you guys the week. Look at the week in crypto. Hundreds of percent. Crow is up 149% on the week. Dogecoin's up 136%. Insanity. But the biggest earner of the day seems to be this AOS network. I don't know how the hell you say that, to be honest, but it's ranked 99th, just came in the top 100 chart over here. 42.6% up on the day, 73 cents. No idea what that is. But Dogecoin's up 37% this morning. We have Crow up 21% this morning. Man, I've just been kind of nipping profits in the butt as things rise, and I'm hoping for a pullback. Usually around Black Friday, we see something in the market where they, things pull back, people sell off, they go on trips, they do things for their kids. Like, people are spending money, right? So usually some money comes out of the market and then it goes back in closer, like middle December or so. But I think in January of next year is going to be a giant pop off when Trump gets back in office. But that's yeah, that's just my personal opinion. All right, flashbang over here. Let's see. Extreme greed today on the fear and greed index, where it got an 80. Damn. Honey just woke up. Wait, honey's pumping. We're gonna have to look in a minute. Thank you, Crypto KJ. Extreme greed 80 though. That's crazy. Yesterday was 76. Faster this needle moves up, the faster it's gonna come crashing down. I wouldn't say crashing down because it's still, this is the bull cycle, so it's only time will tell. We'll have to see what happens. All right, let's check out the top 10 coins over here by coin market cap over on CoinGecko, starting with Bitcoin at a $1.728 trillion market cap. Damn, I'm pretty sure it flipped. It definitely flipped silver at this point. Perfect. That's insane. All right, Bitcoin's first. We got Ethereum, Tether, Solana, BNB, Dogecoin in 6th place. XRP, USDC, Lido Staked Ether, and Cardano over here in 10th place at a $21 billion market cap. Gosh, that's crazy. And think about Dogecoin. It went up 120%. This is a top 10 of all cryptocurrencies coin, and that thing doubled its market cap in the last week. Just think about it for a second. That's insane amounts of money that came into this coin. Insane amounts. Guys, don't be scared to take profits. Don't hold it until the end, because the end comes way faster than you think most of the time. But I don't think it's gonna end anytime soon. I just think we're gonna see pullbacks here and there, but who knows? We might not. It could go to the moon. Who knows? All right, Shiba in 11th place, climbed up to 11th place. That's crazy. $15.6 billion market cap. I still have a bunch of Shiba. I gotta go see what it's at today over on Coinbase. I've been holding like 100 million there forever. Near Protocol, I think Near Protocol is going to be one of those coins that does well. It's only $5.22 right now. Probably one I would look into, because Near Protocol is down quite a bit still from its all-time high, 74%, almost 75%. These are coins to get into now. That's just my opinion. Guys, do what you want. I ain't your financial advisor. Don't take advice from people on YouTube. That would be your first mistake. Litecoin's in 26th place now to $5.7 billion market cap. Where's Caspa? At a $3.5 billion market cap over here, 13.98. Again, I want to see a little bit of a pullback here so I can jump back in, but that's just me personally. All right, let's jump on to the mining segment of things. You guys know I like to timestamp this stuff. Let me refresh this quick, make sure I'm not seeing things. $50 a day on the Bitmain Antminer L9 in first place, 17 gigahash unit. Holy hell. We got, I'm just gonna skip the D1 from now on because this thing is just stupid. It makes no sense. The L9 16 gigahash unit over here making $47.30 a day. Hell yeah. Anybody that bought that, perfect, good for you for having balls when you bought it, because that's some serious profits per day. That's crazy. This is at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, by the way. If anybody's just joining, you don't understand this. This is after you pay a 10 cent per kilowatt hour electric rate. That's your profit, $47.30. All right, I'm gonna scroll down just a little bit. We got the DG1, I guess, actually $39. That's the 1 plus. I don't know what the plus means. I guess just 3 more gigahashes over here, but that's 14 gigahashes total. The DG1 11 gigahash unit is $29.86. We got the X44P over here mining ETC hash, 23.4 gigahashes, making $28.60 a day. Damn. Dude, look at the L7, the L7 9050. This is the unit I have down at Terra Hosting. Shout out to them if you guys are interested in hosting. Link is in the description below. My 9050, my 3-year-old L7 is making $23.10 a day. Holy shit. Perfect. That's amazing. That's crazy. That is crazy. We've seen this thing go down to like $4 a day or something, like in the bear market. But that's, I did not think I was ever going to see over 20 bucks a day. That's freaking nuts. That's amazing. All right, let's see. The AL1 Pro 16.6 terahash unit over here, making $18.49 a day. Damn, lithium must be getting a beating still. The AL1 15.6 terahash unit making $17.36. Let's look at a lithium quick, and then we're gonna, actually, you know what? Yeah, we'll look at a lithium and then we'll look at honey. I want to see what honey's doing. That's the hive mapper if you guys have one of those. $1.25. Lithium is just, yeah, people just trying to get their money back. I get it, totally get it. I don't know, I've never been a huge fan, but listen, take money if you can get it, right? Let's see. I just don't know what the project's actually going to be doing. Oh wow, nice, 23% up today. Hive mapper, you were right, it did kind of wake up. Interesting. I mean, it's only really like 2 pennies or a penny and a half or so, but over the 7-day period it was down to 4. Damn, was it under 5 cents? Holy shit, that's pretty good. It did kind of wake up. That's nice. That means the profits are gonna get better for you guys that drive around and collect honey. That's nice. All right, the Ice River AL3 15 terahash unit over here making $16 a day. You know what, I kind of want to see where my S19K is today. S19K, look at that, making $1.01 per day over here. I heard the difficulty is actually rising because people are turning their stuff back on. Very interesting. I mean, I get it, price is booming, so it makes sense. Why wouldn't you turn your stuff back on, right? Insane. Is there anything else you guys want to look at? Let's see, where are the, just for shits, actually, the Caspa miners, or you know what, mini doge 3, where's 3 plus? Right here. I just turned this thing on before I came back down into start streaming here. 810 mega hashes at 500 watts. This thing's making $1.60 a day on solar. I don't know what this is at free power. Let's just see. just for shits. You guys know I run this thing on solar, so I'm gonna put it on 0. Or I guess, can it go to 0? I can. All right, let's go to Doge. The plus, make it $2.80 a day. Nice. Make it $2.80 a day on this thing. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Over in the solar trailer. All right, let me put this back so I don't screw this up for tomorrow. Go back to all. We're gonna leave this thing here. I think that's really it. Maybe the Castle miners. Let's see if we can find that. The KS2 light. You know what? I got to do a video on this thing. This thing's actually in the green now. It's at 6 cents a day. Not making much at 10 cents per kilowatt hour, but whatever. It's better than nothing. The Ice River just sent that unit over to me for review, so I got to check that out. The KS0 Ultra, actually 400 gigahash unit, is making a penny a day. Bruh. That's pretty shitty. That's pretty shitty, but whatever. Is what it is. Those units weren't going to last forever, right? All right, moving on. GPUs. Let's see. GPUs. What do we got over here? Looks like a Leo Zealous top of the charts over here for the 170HX, but Aleos for the pretty much everything else. Nice hash. Kapow. Kapow. Interesting. What's Ravencoin looking like? Ravencoin. Almost 2 cents. I guess it peaked over 2 cents at one point. Nice. All right, let's see. Aleo. That's what I want to look at. Aleo down 5% today, actually. $1.28. The GPU coins. Could be worse. Could be much worse, I guess. Nice hack. Kapow. Interesting. Chlor. How's Chlor doing? If you guys need anything in the chat, just at me so I know to look at it. I apologize. Chlor. 9 cents. Nice. Not bad. Could be worse. I think Chlor is a real use case as an actual platform. So this is one of those coins that, like, you can take a gamble on it if you want to get a little risky, but I don't think it's gonna pop off till alt season. That's just my opinion. But $39 million market cap is not much. That's that. All right, let's see. That's really gonna do it. What about CPUs? No. CPUs. Darrow and Zephyr. Interesting. Top of the charts. How's Darrow doing? Darrow up 5% today. $1.33. Nice. It was $1.40 the other day on the 8th. And it's down from about a month ago. And it's pretty choppy. Zeph. I don't care about either of these coins, to be honest, but these are both privacy coins, from what I understand. Yeah, nothing crazy. But if you guys CPU mining, there you go. That's what you're looking for. Zephyr and Darrow, or Darrow. I don't know how you're supposed to say it. All right, moving on to the new segment of things. I want to see what they got to say over here on CNBC television. Bitcoin tops 82,000. It's crazy to think this is 22 hours ago, and right now we're at 87. All right, we were at 88 this morning when I woke up. It's crazy, insane. Let's go.
Bitcoin is hitting new highs above 80, actually above 82,000. And Mackenzie Sagalis joins us now with a look inside the action. Was there ever a time, Mackenzie, where you said, why am I going to be a crypto expert? It's a big risk. Now look at it. Now look at you. We can't get enough of you. 82,000.
Yeah, I know in 2017 I was talking to Bitcoin miners in Venezuela who were doing it to make ends meet. But now Bitcoin topping $82,000 this morning as futures premiums jump higher. Traders are now betting over $2.9 billion on Bitcoin, soon rising past that 85K threshold on the popular derivatives exchange Deribit. The wider crypto market also seeing outsized gains this morning. Ether has eclipsed Bitcoin's rise of 30% in the last 7 days, and Solana's market cap topped a $100 billion level on Sunday. On the back of U.S. elections, it saw a swell of pro-crypto candidates win office. Now, the total market cap of all those spot Bitcoin ETFs is now above $80 billion, with inflows surging in the last 3 trading days as institutions and their clients pile into the Bitcoin trade post-election. Within fintech stocks, crypto-aligned companies Coinbase and Robinhood, both of whom are in legal fights with the SEC, are moving higher pre-market. And most Bitcoin miners are all seeing double-digit percentage gains as well. Donald Trump, remember, promised that all future Bitcoin will be mined in the U.S. and pledged to rapidly build out the country's energy production and transmission infrastructure, which is a great thing for those power-hungry miners. This is one of multiple commitments made by the president-elect to the crypto industry.
All right, they need to take that with a grain of salt. Obviously, you can't control the Bitcoin network. It's global. You can't make it all mined in the U.S. That doesn't make any damn sense. But yeah, That's that. Could you imagine being BlackRock right now, though? Could you imagine being Larry Fink and the boner he has this morning? That ETF, the amount of money in there must be unfrickin' real right now.
On the campaign trail, along with vowing to fire SEC Chair Gary Gensler and to launch a national crypto stockpile.
Just looking at MicroStrategy and thinking about, it's 50 billion now, but thinking about Michael Saylor and all along.
And him too, Michael Saylor.
What his viewpoint has been and how he wasn't shy at all about it.
I'll always buy the top.
He almost in real life has laser eyes. Almost in real life. But the stackers and the hodlers, they must be, at this point, anyone who has been stacking or hodling is on top of the world.
Oh, absolutely. And MicroStrategy was a first mover in terms of adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. And that's why this national crypto stockpile is so compelling. So essentially, the U.S. government has $16 billion worth of Bitcoin already on its balance sheet that it has amassed through these seizure operations. But what Donald Trump is talking about doing is not only holding on to that, but he's also been talking to Senator Lummis and her team, who put forth legislation to buy 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years so that ultimately you get a supply of Bitcoin held by the government that is, tantamount to what we have in gold reserves, 5% of the total Bitcoin supply. So it's just, you're even seeing the U.S. government potentially leaning into this hodl strategy, as you were saying.
Well, either you're just really excited about your job or you're orange pilled, one or the other. I can tell how quickly you talk and how much you know about this. You eat it up. Do you not?
Look at Andrew over there crying in his seat.
Do, and I think that especially that promise to fire SEC Chair Gensler on day one in office is why you're seeing stocks like Coinbase and Robinhood do so well. Because you've got Coinbase that's been fighting the regulator for over a year in court. You've got Robinhood that has a Wells notice in May, so it may not materialize in an actual lawsuit if you see a change of leadership at the top of the SEC. So it's a lot of these stocks are optimistic about what a Trump presidency might mean.
I saw Anthony, who we had a fun show on Friday with the Mooch, and he's mad at Elizabeth Warren, and he took it out on her again, and it was tweeting about her with her anti-Bitcoin stance being part of
she sucks.
Not really the election losses, but being at least involved and taking her to task.
But I mean, that's what's been so incredible. I think there were a lot of things.
There might have been a lot of, but among other things.
North of 280 pro-crypto lawmakers elected to Congress, and you saw, $250 million raised by the crypto industry this cycle. That money was effective.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. All right, let's see. What are they going to say over here? What's this one? Outlook for energy stocks isn't as good as people might expect under Trump. This is Mr. Funstrats, Tom Lee, talking shit over here on CNBC television. Let's do it.
Let's get to the markets here. Bring in Tom Lee here at Post 9, of course, Fundstrat Global Advisors, co-founder, managing partner, head of research, S&P target for year-end 6,300. Great to see you, Tom.
Great to see you.
You like to call them granny shots, easy
granny shots to go with those glasses.
Plays, in your view, I have to imagine that list has gotten longer.
Yes. It is, but it stayed around 35 names, but just high-quality names that are in the right sort of themes. We have 7 themes, and as long as they're in more than one theme, they become a granny shot.
Higher conviction on those names, I imagine.
Yes, higher conviction, and these are names that I think most people are going to be familiar with because they're large-cap stocks.
There's some discussion about cyclicals today, that they make sense, and a lot of people are looking to 2016 for analogs, but some argue that there's not the commodity price support that you might have had in a prior cycle. You buy that?
You don't necessarily need commodity prices to help cyclicals.
Oh, yeah, energy, but even materials to some degree.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, so for those, I would say yes. I'd say the outlook for energy stocks isn't great, as good as people might expect under a Trump presidency, just because expanded drilling is lower oil prices. But for cyclicals like industrials and financials, this is, for all the things you guys are discussing, a great environment, including M&A and cost of money falling and animal spirits and deregulation.
Do you think there is real reflation risk in the next, say, 6 months?
That is something that we can see how markets are repricing, and there's a measure called 1-year inflation, 1 year forward. So what does markets think 1-year inflation is a year from now? That has been creeping up. It's actually now at 3.6. It's been a trigger point in the past where the market starts to worry. So whether it's the deportation that's causing that or fiscal spending, I'm not sure, but it is. Markets are starting to think about it.
Or more of just better growth outlook could help inflation expectations rise. I guess where Trump Trade 1.0 ran into trouble was around trade policy. And once we see what he delivers there in terms of tariffs, something he's been very, very consistent on, do you think the market is looking past that, or everything else, the deregulation, the lower corporate taxes, is going to offset any weakness on trade?
I think that if someone was trying to paint a negative picture, that's the tariffs and the trade is what's on people's minds. But of course, that's the one where we don't know what the ultimate sort of policies will be. I'm sure markets will actually provide a lot of real-time feedback, and I think that's going to help shape what the policy is. So I think in general, we should expect a pro-business environment, one that's probably equity-friendly as well.
Where are we on fundamentals and just, in terms of this recent rally, in terms of multiples and your expectations on earnings as we head into next year?
Earnings season, I think actually, as we're wrapping up, is still been very solid. As you know, the drag on earnings has been energy and some of the commodity groups as well as healthcare. But groups like industrials and tech are still producing good numbers. I think next year the outlook should be good because cost of money is coming down and we're seeing housing activity pick up. And if there's mergers, this is actually much better for small caps, and small cap earnings growth has been around 40%. So I think it still sort of guides us to the same trades, which is we want to be more cyclical over the next 6 months and then also look at things like small caps and Bitcoin.
Small caps, why mergers? Just give me a little bit more on why small caps are going to be a bigger beneficiary.
Well, part of it is the backdrop. Small caps have underperformed for the last 5 years by really the largest margin in 25 years. They're now trading at 10 times median PE relative, and for the S&P that's almost 18 times, so a 7 PE discount. Small cap earnings growth is faster, and not only that, but roughly 44% of it is what I'd call very cyclical, and that's things like regional banks and industrials. That's a bigger weight than in the S&P. And then finally, there's a lot of cash on the sidelines, and I think if people are looking for market breadth expansion, that's small caps.
Well, they also don't have the trade exposure. They get the benefit from lower taxes and regulations.
Yeah, that's a good
without
point.
the tariffs also. So it feels like they're in the sweet spot.
That's right, and the margin of outperformance could be sizable. I mean, they've underperformed by almost 100 percentage points, so I think you could recover that over the next few years.
We were mentioning Elon Musk a moment ago, and over the weekend, he endorsed this notion from Senator Lee about end the Fed, essentially. Journal over the weekend with the piece about Powell preparing or being ready to defend a removal if, in fact, he's asked to leave. Do you think the bond market would revolt at any kind of attempts to influence the Fed or re-executivize the Fed?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, the Fed is the most powerful entity in the world, and part of it is its independence, and it's something that even the bond market is scared of. I think changing the structure of the central bank would be not good for capital markets. Interesting.
Very interesting. All right. Let's see. Bitcoin hits new record, topping 88K for the first time. It actually got to like 89 something for an all-time high. Let's see what they got to say. Again, over here, CNBC Television.
For more on Bitcoin's record rally, let's bring in Meltem Demirors. She's a general partner at VC Crucible Capital. Meltem, great to see you.
Good to be back. It's that time of year.
It is that time of year. Tim mentioned flows, and that's what you always talk about. Look at the flows, and you've been seeing the flows going gangbusters in this rally.
Dude, Christmas is going to hit so much different this year.
The flow, yeah, this is the story, right? Sentiment leads to flows, and flows are really how we price Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a digital commodity. Supply and demand are what drive price. So flows right now are coming from, as you mentioned, the ETFs. Overall, I think it's just really important to state $84 billion of flows into the ETFs. 2/3 of the way to the total AUM of gold ETFs. This is a blockbuster year for Bitcoin. Today, MicroStrategy bought $2 billion in Bitcoin. We saw last week $2 billion of flows into the Bitcoin ETF. The prior 3 weeks, we'd seen roughly the same amount. We're seeing all-time highs in terms of volumes traded. So
not to mention MicroStrategy bought $2 billion of Bitcoin the other day.
Those are coming. They're strong. And I think the story is Bitcoin was contrarian. It is now consensus. So I expect a lot more inflows.
Do you think, do you think the chances are of the U.S. being a huge buyer in that it becomes a reserve currency or there is a special Bitcoin fund?
Well, the Strategic Bitcoin Reserve was obviously part of Trump's crypto and Bitcoin platform. He announced that, obviously, at the conference, the Bitcoin conference in the summer. I will be so happy when that happens. And Melissa, I will buy you all a drink.
Meltem, it's Karen. Thanks for being on today. Do you think there is some amount of supply that comes out at, let's say, $100,000, which is a round number and a target for a lot of Bitcoin bulls? Do you think that we would see supply and that maybe put a top on it?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's a question we often ask ourselves. Last year, I think we were in a very different situation because there was still a lot of sellers of Bitcoin. Obviously, with the FTX bankruptcy and unwind, several other high-profile bankruptcies and unwinds, we had a lot of debtors holding Bitcoin. That supply overhang of Bitcoin is mostly gone. In May, we had a Bitcoin halving. There's now half the amount of Bitcoin that's mined in every block. So the inflationary pressure from Bitcoin mining is now cut in half. That supply overhang is getting cut back. I think the volume of buying is going to greatly exceed the volume of selling. The Bitcoin miners aren't accumulating as many coins, again, because that halving cycle has happened this year. So I think there's a lot less selling pressure. And the reality is, as much as people say they're going to sell at 100K or 125, if Bitcoin reaches parity with gold, that's $800,000 per Bitcoin. So I think that a lot of holders of Bitcoin are going to be long-term holders. And we see this in the charts. Big whales holding more than 1,000 coins. They haven't moved a lot of their coins around to exchanges this year.
When do you think that could be hit?
Shit, I want 1,000 Bitcoin.
800,000.
Oh, if I knew, Melissa, I wouldn't be on this show.
I mean, order of magnitude. I mean, is this like years? Is this decades? Is this, what is it?
I think it's years. I think the big question is, what are the big structural shifts? So I just want to talk really briefly about market microstructure because it's really important. Bitcoin ETFs, really easy way for people to access Bitcoin, but they're buying spot exposure, right, in a really easy wrapper. We have MicroStrategy. Why does MicroStrategy do crazy volume? Because you can buy options on MicroStrategy, right? It's a really clean way to trade long and short without needing the capital that you need to trade the CME futures product, which is cash settled and requires you to post collateral. The real question is, what is going to be the route where it's really easy for people to allocate to crypto and deploy a wide variety of strategies when it comes to Bitcoin? People have different preferences. And so I think the real question is, when is market microstructure going to accommodate not just tens of billions of flows, but potentially hundreds of billions of dollars a day in trading volume from people who want to trade spot, options, and other sort of more sophisticated strategies?
All right. Melton, we got to leave it there. Thanks so much. It's always great to see you.
What?
Melton Demers. And obviously, we mentioned, but didn't talk about Coinbase and Robinhood being real beneficiaries of all of this, whether it be Bitcoin or the meme action.
Yeah, I mean, to Karen's point, if you're an institutional investor and you need to buy Bitcoin for whatever reason, I mean, Coinbase is the place for custody and a whole host of other things. So that makes total sense to me. I know a lot of folks have been really focused on the retail. And again, there's lots of different places to do that now. And with the ETFs, I'll just make one point on the MicroStrategy. If you look at December expiration, the stock is trading at $340. The 340 straddle, you put the call premium and the put premium together, it's $100. And I just said it's a 340 strike call. Okay, so just do the math there. I mean, there's some things that are getting very out of whack on a pricing standpoint. And the last few times, if you were to buy a Bitcoin on a parabolic move like this, and to this extent it's kind of moved, it's probably a tough time to do it unless you're willing to average down for a while and you have a long-term time horizon.
Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Jump over to, again, CNBC Television, crypto spot and proxy runs. Let's see what they got to say.
Matt, State Street, your firm, you guys manage the Spider Regional Bank ETF. The KRE is the symbol there. You had messaged me that last Wednesday, the KRE had inflows that were 36% of the fund's assets in a single day. And folks, if you don't know it, that's unheard of in a single day. That just doesn't happen. And I'm sure, Matt, it's a record. Tell us what's moving all the bank stocks and ETFs.
Yeah, I mean, that flow was a record, significant interest into regional bank stocks and banks overall. And I think it just comes down to sort of three central things. The first is earnings. The fundamentals are heading into the election were strong. And also you have the Federal Reserve starting to lower interest rates, and that could be beneficial because you have supportive loan growth. So that's the first point is that the consumer remains resilient. Earnings and fundamentals are resilient as well in the banking space. The other two is around the election and the outcome or potential outcomes for lesser regulation for the financial industry. And then again, this inflationary policies that are being put forth on the campaign trail that could lead to higher interest rates on the long end while the Federal Reserve is lowering interest rates on the short end because that inflation policies actually have a lag effect to it. So you have wider yield curves, and that could be positive for net interest margins. So bank stocks saw that sizable sentiment shift right there.
You agree with this, I gather. I mean, it is rather remarkable, though. I mean, a 10% move up in these bank ETFs almost in 5 or 6 days. I mean, we're talking about big companies here. This is not, tiny little businesses here, particularly regional banks.
Yeah, we like KBWB, the large cap money center bank. So that's like Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs, the big bellwethers. And that was up prior to the 10% outperformance the day after the election. That was up 40% in the last year. So I agree with a lot of what Matt said. I mean, the fundamentals were leaning well for financials prior to it. And now this is just a catalyst to catapult it even higher. Remember, the last 3-4 years, Bob, 10 years, all people want to own is mega cap tech and growth. And, you're starting to see changes on the margin. And again, the red sweep, which no one, really kind of had in their bingo card, is a catalyst for you to rotate.
Yeah. I want to move on and get a couple other sectors in here. Matt, you also mentioned to me big inflows into crypto ETFs. I know you guys, State Street runs the Galaxy Digital Asset ETF, DECO. That just launched a little while ago, folks, in September. A collection of various businesses involved in crypto. But it seems to me like the big winner here is Cathie Wood and her ARK Invest ETF, ARKK, and maybe ARKB. These have been called Trump proxies. She owns Tesla in ARKK. She owns Coinbase and Robinhood. Those are Bitcoin proxies. And the fund's now at a 2-year high. But she's also had massive outflows in the last 2 years. So yes, the prices are up recently, but outflows. And I guess the question is, the both of you, can Cathie get her and other people involved in speculative tech get their luster back with this?
Well, I think if you just take a big step back and look at the industry overall if you take a big step back and you look at the industry overall for digital assets, in the digital assets space, you have an administration that is going to be more crypto friendly in terms of their regulation policies and potentially lesser hurdles for cryptocurrencies and other digital assets to start to receive broad-based financial institution support. So So I think when we look at this idea of transformational technologies or more speculative technologies that are developing in a fast-paced, changing environment, the ability to utilize actively managed strategies to decipher the winners and losers around either regulatory-inspired headwinds or just ongoing usage and adoption of digital assets, I think that could be beneficiary, and that's obviously why we have our Galaxy partnership, because you need to understand how the cryptocurrency market is progressing, particularly around new administration policies.
So that makes sense, though. I've had my issues with Bitcoin, whether it constitutes money or is a separate asset class, but blockchain technology seems to be quietly advancing. I know most of the centers around Bitcoin and get-rich-quick schemes, but blockchain is advancing as a concept, as an investable concept, not just as supporting a cryptocurrency, but to do real estate transactions, to settle contracts, to do DeFi, smart contracts. Clearing even for stocks potentially. It's potentially very exciting technology.
You can always tell the people that don't buy Bitcoin and like how miserable they are. This guy just seems like super miserable, but why is he hiding a chinchilla in his pocket? It's weirded me out.
Yeah, for sure. I'm with you. I think that active management is probably better in something like very specific, like crypto and digital assets. So again, I think there's certain things you should be active, certain things should be passive. Large cap equities, probably go passive. But what Matt's doing with Galaxy, seems like it makes a lot of sense. I mean, yes, like Trump's cabinet will be pro crypto. I would just caution the viewers that a lot of it's in the price. I mean, Bitcoin is up 80% year to date. A lot of it was front run on ETF flows. Yes, they've garnered a lot of assets, but in this business, entry price is everything, and it's rallied quite a bit. So I would just be careful and tactical with your entry point if you choose to kind of go ahead and buy either Bitcoin asset or crypto equities.
The entry price does not matter. It's the scarcity of Bitcoin and the fact that Bitcoin on exchanges is running out. You can only mine so much a day. You can't make it more. Like it can never go up. The amount. I mean, the amount that Bitcoin is going to be mined per day is just at a set point. What is it, like 450 per day? You can't make that more. If they buy up 800 a day, it's only a matter of time before things get really freaking supply shocked. The AI bull market is likely to continue over here on CNBC television. Let's do it.
But what do you view as most important forces to watch? I mean, there's a possible energy impact from Ukraine and Middle East.
Charlie says same thing will happen with Caspa. I agree 100%.
Policy shifts, also possible China market impacts from trade policy. So what should we watch for?
Yeah, I mean, I think.
So real quick, the argument with Caspa, like, think about Bitcoin back in 2009 when people didn't believe in it, when it didn't matter, like people just forgot about wallets and all this other shit. But look at it now. Look at the price, like where it's been, like under a penny to like almost 90K per coin. That's unreal. It's crazy, right? Caspa is a better technology. It's faster as a payment method. It's on Grayscale's list for considered coins under currency. It's the only coin under currency that Grayscale's looking at, or just in general. It's the only coin under currency, right? It's I mean, they're looking at other altcoins, but nothing is comparable to the technology that Caspa has.
I think as we start to see President-elect Trump's cabinet and start to materialize, that will help to shed some light on what to expect going forward. But again, to your point, the impact of elections, I mean, make no mistake, I think the election results will keep the barriers to the market, lower the amount of speed bumps in the road, but election results can tend to be overstated. You look at the last 16 years. We've had some very good market returns. Under Obama, annualized returns of the S&P 500 were 16.3%. Trump's first term, annualized returns 16.3%, and under Biden, 14%. So we've had three very different presidents, and we've had very similar market returns. But going forward, I think this AI bull market, where we've seen the broadening out since the summer, is likely to continue, and hence the point, it's Newton's first law of motion bull market at this point.
Indeed, and indeed, it looks like we did get that above 6,000 close in the S&P 500, positive on the NASDAQ as well. Dana, I kept hearing
above $6,000 for the S&P 500. That's wild.
A week plus ago, that one party or the other getting a sweeping win across the presidency and Congress would be bad for equities, but that's what the Republicans got. Equities have responded very positively. So what do Republicans have to do or not do to keep this momentum going?
Well, I think part of what you might be thinking about in terms of why equities would benefit from not a sweep is just maybe a little bit more fiscal responsibility. You know, one party or another, whichever party it be, can't sort of sweep and institute all of its intended plans. And so, you know, there's fiscal questions there. And to the extent that we are now moving into an era where we're going to have the tax cuts from 2017 extended, there doesn't appear to be in the Republican Party, obviously, sort of the old guard view that, you know, you have to kind of reduce spending as much, although notwithstanding, you know, the promise to kind of cut a lot of government. But, you know, to the extent that tax cuts kind of come into place, tariffs are higher as we're being told to expect, you might have more inflationary concerns. I think Republicans, if they want to continue the great market, you know, they're going to pay attention to what inflation could do. I think really what they've said so far is being looked at as very pro-business. I think you're seeing that reflected obviously enormously in the markets. And so the big kind of fly in the ointment is going to be, well, okay, you know, stocks are now getting priced with this expectation of a really low regulatory environment, great pro-business tax policy, you know, regulatory, et cetera. You know, what does that do to inflation?
Did she say fly in the ointment? As like an analogy? Is that what I heard? AI improvement could be slowing down. Let's see.
Traffic to ChatGPT is booming, with CEO Sam Altman bragging on X that it's now the 8th biggest website in the world, according to SimilarWeb. But the site's incredible growth comes right as real concerns swirl over whether the advancement of generative AI models is actually slowing down.
It's an old expression. I've never heard that before in my life. That's all right.
Look in today's tech check.
The one who was, where do you even buy Caspa? Good question. All the no-name exchanges, and that's another reason it's probably going to explode once it gets on Kraken. But if you're trying to purchase Caspa or swap for Caspa, the easiest way is to do it swapping for it. Get a Tangem. Tangem, code CCXD gets 10% off. This is the best crypto wallet, in my opinion. I use it every single day to swap everything, not just Caspa, ADA, Dogecoin, Bitcoin, literally everything. It's just super simple, super easy. But that's how I buy all my Caspa. I just swap USDT for Caspa or whatever, Dogecoin for Caspa, whatever I want to do.
Check. Hi, Deirdre.
Hey, Kelly. So in other words, has it peaked? And that's a conversation certainly gaining traction here in Silicon Valley these days. The idea that rapid Gen AI advancements that we've seen of recent years are showing signs of deceleration. There was VC Ben Horowitz on the latest A16Z podcast.
We're increasing GPUs at the same rate, but we're not getting the intelligence improvements at all out of it.
Reid Hoffman made a similar point on another podcast, and the information reporting that the increase in the quality of Orion, that's OpenAI's upcoming advanced model, is less than the quality jump between the last two flagship models, GPT-3 to GPT-4. So in other words, Gen AI advancements may have peaked, essentially because the models are running out of data to train on. Now, if that core assumption is changing, that could lead investors to question the way that they have been valuing AI companies. It could also drive changes in the AI hardware market, that is chips. Now, in terms of who stands to benefit, I want to point back to that SimilarWeb post. It showed that ChatGPT is now one of the largest websites in the world by traffic. In October, it put ChatGPT visits at 3.7 billion in October versus Perplexity's 91 million versus Google Gemini's 292 million. Now, even if technological advancements are slowing down, other CEOs operating in the space, like Mark Zuckerberg, say that there's still a lot of opportunity to build consumer and enterprise applications on top of the current technology, even if it has plateaued. There's Notebook LM, computer use, agents. These are all examples of new and potential use cases built on top of existing models, Kelly. So the only point I make is that this could be driving a change in how we think about how we value these AI models, right? What can you build with existing technology versus the next jump in technology?
Yeah, I mean, I still also wonder about the IPOs that we may ever see. This has been such a slow year the last couple of years. You know, we had a record 2021. And does any of the tinkering in this field tell us that we're going to get a busier IPO docket maybe next year? Or is it unrelated and going to ultimately accrue to the big platforms and so forth?
It's a great question. I think what we were already starting to see is some of the hardware names, some of the new chip makers like Cerebras, and some of the application layers that might be easier to value, right? Because they're just building on top of the large language models. Maybe you'll see more of them. And I think when you think about the OpenAIs, the Anthropics, just how much investment they need to develop these models, that could be and is likely to be further off.
All right, Deirdre, thank you. For now, Deirdre Bosa.
Interesting. All right, moving on. CNBC Crypto World. Bitcoin sets another record. Crypto stocks soar as post-election rally continues. I just want to hear the news part of it.
Okay, let's talk about the top stories. MicroStrategy says it's acquired more than 27,000 Bitcoin since the end of October. The exact total was 27,200 Bitcoin purchased with cash for slightly more than $2 billion. That averages out to around $74,500 per Bitcoin. MicroStrategy's executive chairman, Michael Saylor, said yesterday that the firm holds around 279,420 Bitcoins, or around $11.9 billion. He also said the average purchase price of those holdings is around $42,692. Shares of MicroStrategy stock popped 18% by 12:30 Eastern, adding to its post-election gains. Next, the FTX estate is suing Binance and its co-founder, Changpeng Zhao, for $1.8 billion. The filing in a Delaware court Sunday claims FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried negotiated to buy Binance and CZ's stake of his company in 2021. The FTX estate argues the deal was a constructive fraudulent transfer, as it was funded by an insolvent Alameda Research, FTX's now defunct sister hedge fund. The filing claims the deal was made with a combination of FTX's own FTT token and the Binance-issued BNB and BUSD tokens. Binance told CNBC the claims are meritless and that it would defend itself. Also last week, Alameda Research filed an action to recover more than $11 million it says is held in a Crypto.com exchange controlled by Alameda.
Damn.
All right, let's pivot back to markets for our main story. With Bitcoin hitting fresh all-time highs, I spoke with Matt Hogan, CIO of Bitwise Asset Management, for his reaction and his outlook for the cryptocurrency by year end.
I kind of want to listen to this guy. I don't know. Should we listen to him or should we listen to the pomp? You guys tell me in the chat. I'm going to start this, but if you guys want to change it, we'll go to the pomp.
Let me first get your reaction to this rally that we've seen over the past week, and specifically, not to be a party pooper, but it really does feel very bullish and like it's straight to the moon from here. And at what point do you start to caution investors, and how long do you expect this to last, given that we are in quite a lengthy honeymoon period here?
Yeah, well, it's wonderful to be here. I'm not sure it's straight to the moon, but it does seem like there's an air gap between the previous all-time highs around 72,000 and $100,000. It's hard exactly to see what would force sellers to come into this market and halt the momentum before we get to that level. Of course, there are no guarantees. You could see pullbacks, but we're in a new crypto market cycle. We're in a golden age of crypto. I do think that we are right to be bullish, and the bias is still on the upside.
Can you get a little bit into the nuance of this election as a driver? I mean, there's the idiosyncratic parts, the promise of a more supportive regulatory environment, but there are also a lot of implications that we can take from Donald Trump's policy plans and some of the statements he's made. That would have macro effects. I think that would be positive for Bitcoin. So talk about each side of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's start just on the crypto side, which is that we can expect to see a sea change in the regulatory environment towards crypto. It's absolutely the case that crypto has spent the past 4 years fighting with one hand tied behind its back, fighting on an uneven playing field, facing significant, regulatory prosecution, a lot of regulatory unclarity, and that's just shifted, 180 degrees. We're now in a positive regulatory environment. We now have tailwinds from that, and that comes in the case of a market that was already in a bull market. So I do think there's been a 180 flip from a regulatory perspective, and I think that's going to push us higher. I think what you're hinting at is that other piece of the puzzle, which is that the economic policies that we expect the Trump administration to pursue should be a positive environment for stores of value in general, should be positive for gold, should be positive for crypto. I do like when people think about investing in Bitcoin to remember that you're making two different bets. The first bet you're making is that Bitcoin will go from this new idea to a mainstream asset. If it succeeds in doing that, it can go to $1 million, right? We won't match gold until Bitcoin gets to $1 million. The second bet that you're making is that the size of that market will grow because the US is piling on debt, degrading its currency, et cetera. And when both of those things happen at once, you get the kind of move that we're seeing in Bitcoin right now. It's fun to watch.
And just to drive a little further on that, I mean, some experts have said that some of Trump's policies could have a chilling effect on the economy. Not to frame it so black and white, but do you see that as necessarily a headwind for crypto?
Yeah, I think the references there are towards like the potential for tariffs to increase inflation, et cetera. All of that actually plays into the crypto window. And I think it's overwhelmed by this shift in the regulatory environment. Look, this is a very positive market for crypto on both sides of the spectrum. It's important to note that the recent market move, I think, has been driven in part not by net new demand, but by sellers evaporating from this market. If you think of long-term investors in Bitcoin who are willing to sell at previous all-time highs, they're no longer willing to sell until Bitcoin gets to $100,000. If you think of people who were shorting Bitcoin, they're no longer willing to short Bitcoin because we could wake up one day and have a U.S. strategic Bitcoin reserve, and they don't want to be on the other side of that trade. And then you have this long-term demand. So is the economic outlook for the U.S. mixed? Certainly. Was the economy decelerating already? We've seen that in the negative revisions on job claims and other aspects. Does that matter to Bitcoin? I'm not sure. I think all signs point towards more concerns about inflation, more concerns about the degradation of the dollar, and more institutional adoption of Bitcoin and crypto. I think it's a win-win scenario for this market.
Okay, I rarely ask you this specific question, but do you have a price target for Bitcoin for the end of the year? 80K and higher towards 6 digits is what many in the space have been saying. And if it keeps going this way, it seems like that could easily happen. Do you have a number in mind for this year?
I wish I could be more unique. Yeah, at the start of this year, Bitwise predicted that Bitcoin would exceed $80,000 and set new all-time highs. So we've gotten that one right. I think we have a very clear path right up to 100K. I do think 100K is something that we could hit our heads against. It's a behavioral sell wall. I think there's some long-term investors who will look to take profits at that level, but I think that will be a pause and not a stop. So 100K by the end of this year. I think 200K is completely reasonable in 2025 and could be substantially higher depending on how things pan out. Of course, there's a lot of risk. There will be a lot of volatility. There will be pullbacks, but the trend is up and to the right, and I think that's going to stay intact for a little while.
Awesome. All right, I'm going to stop him there. We're going to jump over to Anthony Pompliano, moving on to the videos of the day. Let's do it. Bitcoin all-time high signals a bull run. Let's do it.
Bitcoin just smashed through $80,000 and Wall Street's going to have to pay attention. In this video, I'm going to describe to you exactly how we got here, and then I'm going to tell you my personal thoughts on where we're going. You're going to want to pay attention to this. Now let's go back to 2021 and set the scene. We saw Bitcoin rise all the way to $69,000. It was a new all-time high and everyone was euphoric. We thought that Bitcoin could only go higher and higher and higher. But the Federal Reserve had a completely different idea. They came out and they said, things are too frothy. We think that inflation is going to end up being a problem. And so we are going to start to raise interest rates. Interest rates at the time were 0%, but the Fed then went on an absolute adventure. They raised interest rates from 0 to over 5% at the fastest pace in history. We had never seen anything like this before.
Crazy.
And when capital gets more expensive in the market, investors get scared. And that's exactly what happened. Investors started to sell everything. They sold off their stocks, they sold off their Bitcoin, and they sold off anything with a liquid market. Both stocks, bonds, and crypto all went down when the Fed started to hike interest rates. 2022 was a bruising year. It wasn't fun, and nobody was celebrating. And then towards the end of 2022, we got the final capitulation. FTX went down along with other firms, and we saw Bitcoin puke all the way down to $17,000. In less than 1 year, we went from $69,000 down to $17,000. That type of volatility usually shakes anyone out of their position, but not the Bitcoiners. The Bitcoiners are trained to buy and hold. It doesn't matter if the price goes up hundreds of percent or the price drops 80 or 90%. Bitcoiners continue to accumulate Bitcoin and they do not sell. You can see this in the on-chain data. And so at $17,000, Bitcoiners were just as strong-handed as they were at $69,000. And from there, it was up only. We continued to grind up all throughout 2023. Now, what became most interesting was in the second half of 2023, a brand new narrative presented itself. The Bitcoin ETF. If the government was going to approve the Bitcoin ETFs, the promise was that billions of dollars would flood into the market and Bitcoin's price would go up. Going into that Bitcoin ETF approval in January of 2024, Bitcoin was trading around $40,000. Now remember, we bottomed at 17 and we were already back to $40,000 when the ETFs got approved. And once those ETFs got approved, capital poured in from around the world. Once that capital started to pour in, we saw Bitcoin go from $40,000 to $60,000 very quickly. It's a 50% gain off of a single product being launched in the financial world. But those ETFs were the single greatest ETF launch in history. We have now seen tens of billions of dollars from people around the world trying to buy Bitcoin in the traditional industry. And so those Bitcoin ETFs have continued to help Bitcoin's price grind higher and higher and higher. Going into the end of 2024, we sat there with a little bit of a conundrum. We had two candidates, Trump and Harris, who both had different views of Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Everyone wanted to see, will Bitcoin's price go up or down based on the election? There was plenty of rumors that this was going to be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. But instead, Donald Trump was elected in a landslide victory. He not only won the Electoral College, he won the popular vote, and the Republicans won the House and the Senate as well. That type of landslide gives a mandate to an administration to go and implement the policies that they ran on. And one of the policies that Donald Trump ran on was to be the first pro-Bitcoin candidate. He said he would protect Bitcoin. He would protect Bitcoiners' right to hold Bitcoin in self-custody. And he said that he would create a strategic reserve of Bitcoin for the United States on its balance sheet. The market believes Donald Trump, because as soon as Donald Trump was elected, Bitcoin took off. We have seen Bitcoin go from about $70,000 to this morning breaking $82,000. Now, why is $82,000 such an important number? Not
89,000.
only does it serve as a brand new all-time high, which is plenty important and will get tons of press coverage. That press coverage will lead to more eyeballs. Those eyeballs will lead to word of mouth. Word of mouth will lead to more capital. And so Bitcoin becomes a reflexive asset. The higher it goes, the less risky it is. The less risky it is, the more capital that comes in. The more capital that comes in, the higher the price goes. But $80,000 was a really big point for us to breach. Why? Well, if we go back to 2021, the high of $69,000 was in 2021 dollar terms. We've had a lot of inflation since then. And so $69,000 in 2021 is the equivalent of $80,000 in 2024. So going above that $80,000 mark recently meant that Bitcoin now has set a new all-time high in inflation-adjusted terms. So not only did we get it in nominal terms, but we also now have a new Bitcoin all-time high in inflation-adjusted terms, which means that Bitcoin is winning. And so when you add up the fact that Bitcoin is at 82,000, it's the front page story on CNBC, Bloomberg, Fox Business, and every other financial media outlet, and we set a new all-time high in inflation-adjusted metrics, that means that Wall Street is paying attention. Now, it's not just a Wall Street story, though. If you look at the charts, the chart looks really nice. There are people saying online that it's the best chart on the planet. You see all the technicians pointing to a bunch of lines they've drawn on the chart that simply says Bitcoin is going higher. But we also have rumors circulating that there's a nation state that is buying tons of Bitcoin. Bitcoin Magazine CEO David Bailey has come out and said that he is aware of a nation state that has already acquired enough Bitcoin to be a top 5 holder globally, but that the country is not known. Nobody knows yet that they own Bitcoin. I don't know who they are, but if it comes out that somebody has acquired hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin, that obviously will get people's attention. And then if you take all of that and you put it together, we now are starting to see a number of different financial advisors reach out to their constituents and their clients and say, we are going to buy 1%, 2% in your portfolio. One financial advisor said, we're going to do it for every client. If you don't want us to do it, let us know by Monday morning, or we're going to put a 1% position on. And
wow, that's actually a really big deal.
So now what we are seeing is the story that Bitcoiners have been saying for a long time. We saw the bottom-up adoption story where individuals first started to buy Bitcoin. They realized that Bitcoin could protect their purchasing power. It could store their economic value. And then we began to see corporations and financial institutions. Once those financial institutions started to get involved, it was very clear that they were going to bring tens of billions of dollars into a market. Bitcoin's current market cap is about $1.5 trillion, but it seems like it is going to go much, much higher.
1.7.
And so the final boss is going to be the nation states and the sovereign wealth funds. We already know a number of countries hold Bitcoin. They hold Bitcoin usually because they seized it. There are countries like El Salvador that are actually buying up Bitcoin, or Bhutan, which is mining Bitcoin. But there has not been a large developed nation that has come out and explicitly stated, here's our Bitcoin strategy, we are going to put Bitcoin in our reserves, and we are going to continue to accumulate the asset. When that domino falls, the Bitcoiners can claim victory. They took an asset that literally started on an email list in 2009 for the cypherpunk community, and they brought it all the way to the nation states. Memes are the narrative in today's world, and Bitcoin is the world's greatest meme. It is a story that resonates with billions of people around the world. It is a meme that has virality, that once you buy Bitcoin, you join Bitcoin's marketing team. You go and you tell your friends. And there is no greater marketing campaign for Bitcoin than when the price goes up. And so Bitcoin going to $82,000 and having so many people that now hold Bitcoin, those people will go and tell their friends. The beauty of all-time highs is that every single person who has ever bought Bitcoin and held it to today is now in profit. They have a positive story to share with friends. One of those times that they are going to share that story with their friends is at Thanksgiving. This is a highly underrated point in the market.
Unless you bought it this morning and it's down $4,000 right now.
You have people who go and they're at work or at school and they come back home and then they mix with all of their old friends, their family, and others. That is one of the most viral word-of-mouth moments in American culture.
Very true.
People talk about the things they're interested in at Thanksgiving. They see people that they haven't seen in a long time. And so sometimes consumer apps, they end up accelerating in growth during Thanksgiving. But Bitcoin is the same thing. We've all had conversations with our friends during the holidays. There are people who don't know anything about Bitcoin. There are people who know that you're into Bitcoin and they want to learn more. Or there are people who may hold Bitcoin and they simply want to understand where you think the price is going. But going into the holidays with Bitcoin running higher means that this will be a conversation that families and friends are having, that word of mouth will spread. As word of mouth spreads, it will lead to more capital flowing in. Now, don't forget that on top of all of this, which is quite bullish, we also have the Bitcoin ETF options, which should be coming live here in the next couple of weeks. Today's episode is brought to you by...
Nope, it is not. Son of a bitch.
When those options are created, it will give people the ability to go levered long on the ETFs. My guess is that there's a lot of people on Wall Street who see the volatility of Bitcoin and they say to themselves, I want to be extra long that asset. Now, what's fascinating about the Bitcoin market and Wall Street is that while Bitcoin was running all weekend long, it was going up thousands of dollars per coin. Wall Street was sitting on the sideline. If you can only invest via the ETF, that means that you are susceptible to the hours of operations of the stock market. And so, since the market closed on Friday, investors were not able to invest again until Monday. There was a massive dislocation. Bitcoin's price was much higher. And so those investors walked into their offices on Monday morning, scrambling to try to catch up and buy more Bitcoin.
And a lot of people had yesterday off too as well. So it was Veterans Day, right? But the market was still open. So I said we're probably going to see a little bit of a pullback today, but who knows?
That is the beauty of having an asset that trades 24/7, 365 days a year. Bitcoin does not care who holds it. Bitcoin does not care who's investing in it. Bitcoin does not care who the president is. Bitcoin simply continues to produce block after block after block of transactions.
It doesn't care who the president is, but people do. So the buying's definitely because of that whole thing.
Is doing what it is designed to do. Remember, we had the Bitcoin halving in 2024. We had that supply shock. That supply shock meant 50% less Bitcoin coming into the market on a daily basis. But now we are starting to feel the effects of the demand shock. Wall Street is at the gate. They are pounding on the gate and they want more Bitcoin. Whether it is public companies buying Bitcoin, whether it is BlackRock, Fidelity, Bitwise, and others trying to suck up as much Bitcoin as they can into their ETFs, or it is traders trying to trade around this asset, capital and Bitcoin are going to find each other because Bitcoin is a macro asset that is highly sensitive to interest rates getting cut and the money supply growing. And if we are in an environment like we are today, where Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve have now done 2 interest rate cuts of 75 total basis points and likely to do another 25 in December, that means that cheap capital is coming into the market. Add in the fact that China is also stimulating their economy and M2 global money supply is expanding. These conditions are rocket fuel for Bitcoin. My expectation is that we can look at 2020 and 2021 as a blueprint for what is going to happen. I promised you that I was going to tell you what my view of this market is, and here we go. If we go back to 2020, you can see that going into early November, Bitcoin was trading around $15,000. By March of 2021, 5 months later, Bitcoin had gone from $15,000 to over $60,000. That is a massive appreciation in just 5 short months. Thanks. I believe that we are going to see a similar run. It may not be hundreds of percent because Bitcoin, the asset and the market cap are much larger now. But I do believe that Bitcoin is going to get a very strong bid going into the end of the year and into Q1 of 2025. There are too many institutions, too many nation states, and too many individuals who now are participating in the global accumulation race. They all want Bitcoin, but there's only 21 million that will ever be available. If you also take into account how many have been lost, there's even less available for people in the market. Then add in the fact that 2 out of every 3 Bitcoin have,
they say 5 to 7 million or something have been lost from people just being negligent.
Not moved in the last year, and 1 out of every 2 Bitcoin has not moved in the last 2 years. Bitcoiners who are holding the asset do not want to sell. And so you have a small pool of only a couple million Bitcoin that are actually available in the circulating supply. With all this new capital coming in, I expect Bitcoin to continue on the current trend. Sideways summer is over, we have broken out of the hibernation, and Bitcoin is on the move. When Bitcoin moves, the world pays attention, and that's exactly what we're seeing now. So it should be a couple of fun months, but one word of caution to all the Bitcoiners. Just because somebody was anti-Bitcoin or sat it out until now, please treat them with kindness, please treat them with grace. All of us started our journey knowing nothing, and we did the work to get educated and eventually became a Bitcoiner.
Bitcoin lives matter. That's what he meant to say. All right, shout out to Anthony Pompliano for that video. It was amazing, actually. Go check out his channel if you guys want. Links in the description below. All right, last but not least, urgent Bitcoin news update. 5 crypto coins to buy before 100K. Let's see what Mr. Austin over at Altcoin Daily's got to say.
Ultimately, you get a supply of Bitcoin held by the U.S. government that is, tantamount to what we have in gold reserves.
Big things are happening today with crypto. The Bitcoin price is well over its 2021 highs. We are currently in price discovery. And while altcoins today are the bigger news, watch today's whole video for which altcoins are implementing, because understanding what's coming with the US government and the United States Bitcoin Reserve.
And that's why this national crypto stockpile is so compelling. So essentially, the US government has $16 billion worth of Bitcoin already on its balance sheet that it has amassed through these seizure operations. But what Donald Trump is talking about doing is not only holding on to that, but he's also been talking to Senator Lummis and her team, who put forth legislation to buy 1 million Bitcoin over the course of 5 years, so that ultimately you get a supply of Bitcoin held by the U.S. government that is, tantamount to what we have in gold reserves, 5% of the total Bitcoin supply. So it's just you're even seeing the U.S. government potentially leaning into this HODL strategy, as you were saying.
So U.S. Senator Lummis, which is about to have the full support of the Trump administration starting January 6th, has proposed a bill for the U.S. to acquire 1 million Bitcoin.
Store it.
That's crazy.
Untouched for 20 years.
Amazing.
And
1 million Bitcoin would reduce our current debt in half.
On top of the Bitcoin that they
That's crazy.
already own due to DOJ confiscations over the years, and understanding the exact language. That's why you subscribe to Altcoin Daily for all the information. If the US buys 1 million Bitcoin over 5 years, that's 547 Bitcoin bought every day, more than all new Bitcoin currently mined, which is about 450 per day. Now that Trump has won, the world's largest buyer could be about to enter the chat. And just looking at how much the demand is outweighing the supply today, this was the amount of Bitcoin bought by just the ETFs in this last week.
Look at that, the last week, 20,268 Bitcoin purchased by the ETFs. The Bitcoin mined 3,150. That's crazy. That is freaking crazy.
Compared to the amount of Bitcoin mined in just this last week, this is why price is increasing. And for people asking, is this a top?
7 times
is the Bitcoin pump done? Retail is not here yet, meaning Coinbase app is not #1 in the App Store. Your Uber driver isn't telling you about his recent altcoin gains. This price discovery, thus far, is exclusively driven by institutional accumulation.
I would say the market still have a ways to go, because what you're seeing right now is primarily institutionally driven buying. It's people that have been soaking up the BTC that was available through the exchange liquidations, and now those are pretty much burnt off. But retail hasn't come back in. If you look at the size of the buy orders that are coming in, they're all fairly large. You're not seeing drips and drabs like you would, and you're not seeing your Uber driver checking their portfolio as you're driving around now. When that returns, I think that the market can go considerably higher.
And keep in mind, pullbacks in any bull market will happen. Bitcoin is largely going up today, not because of what just happened, although you could say it is because Trump just got elected, but he's not president yet. Once he is sworn in on January 6th, then things will officially start happening, and even that may take up to a year.
I think number one, for the United States, they're going to have to decide who will be the lead regulator, CFTC or SEC. Then they need to decide how they want to regulate, and that's going to take a long time for consultation. Even if you look in Hong Kong, we took roughly about a year to get everything together in terms of our licensing measures, and they're very clear now. But just getting the legislation passed, and that's moving very quickly, in fact, does take time. And the United States, you're going to have voting within houses and different bodies within the United States. Whilst I see that the Republican Party does control both the Senate and the House now, it will still take time because not everybody is on the bandwagon to approve digital assets as a full asset class. But I think it's on the way there.
And the really big news is what's happening with altcoins. Charles Hoskinson saying that in 2025, Cardano really starts the marketing.
So next year, we really have to market to Bitcoin developers and Bitcoin people that want to use their Bitcoin to do stuff. So first off, make it absolutely seamless from a Bitcoin user perspective to launch a Cardano application and spend your Bitcoin on Cardano apps and dApps. That's the first thing we need to do. And so make it look like they've never left Bitcoin. And because of Boss and Maestro, hybrid applications and Babel fees, I think we have a path to get there. It's going to be an enormous amount of work. It's a very heavy lift. And there's going to be wallet integrations and all these things that have to happen. We got fire on all cylinders. There's $1.5 trillion in the Bitcoin space, guys. 1.5 trillion. Okay, if you add up Solana and Ethereum together, that is 3 times the size of Solana and Ethereum. And there's 0 TVL in Bitcoin right now. Okay, so I think that's a bigger TAM to go after. And we're a UTXO chain, and those guys aren't. So we can go in 2 weeks' time with an Aiken training course, train all the Bitcoin developers to write beautiful Cardano applications that they're instantly comfortable with and they like developing for.
Let me know down below in the comment section if you're long or short on the ADA price. Looking at the chart on Margex, ADA is up over 100% in the last few weeks. And whether you are longing the ADA price or shorting the ADA price, keep in mind that on Margex, you can use your altcoin gains, other altcoins, different altcoins as collateral.
Shilling the shit.
I will put a referral link down below.
Yeah, of course.
And looking at recent news with Xborg, which is aiming to be one of the top gaming protocols in this 2025 bull run. Of course, we are early. They are now.
Gaming is definitely not going to be one of the coins. Like, I don't know, one of the sectors that blow up. I don't think this run. Everything's AI. That's just point blank, end of story.
Number 11 today by fully diluted value. And just a reminder on what Xborg is, straight from their founder.
What Xborg is this big ledger.
Yeah, he's showing this one. I'm going to jump forward.
The most. Also, if you're bullish on AI cryptos, for Human Protocol, Human AI, and their Heart token, they have just partnered or collabing with juggernaut Ocean Protocol. Humans AI and Ocean Protocol announced live today at the Super Intelligence Summit by CEO and founder of Humans AI, as well as COO of Ocean Protocol. The collab is on. And also, speaking of expansion of AI cryptos globally, Humans AI eyes positive.
I wonder if he's shilling this one. I'm not sure. So any of these could be shills in this channel. I have no idea what he was paid to talk about. So just make sure you guys know that.
Indian market with its AI counselor tech. So they did just get a write-up in the Business Standard. Humans AI is bringing human and AI built to integrate smoothly into human workflows to India. So cool to see the progress globally. And quick piece of news for Solana, breaking. $160 million has bridged to Solana in the last 7 days. Over $130 million just from Ethereum. So we just spoke about liquidity for Xborg. Pay attention.
Is that what apparently broke the Solana network the last couple of days? It's been a freaking nightmare to use Solana. I don't know if you guys ran into issues, but like sending Solana from A to B, I had some issues, like got hung up for hours. I'm like, what the hell's going on?
To that liquidity, i.e. where the liquidity is flowing, because liquidity is money, and you always follow the money. And quick piece of news for Proppy, Coinbase and Proppy major announcement. Anthony Scaramucci highlights why something like Proppy is needed. As a reminder, Proppy is real estate on-chain, a fully licensed U.S. escrow.
You could be in a situation 5-10 years from now where some of the best properties in the world, people want to sell those properties. Yeah, that's great, but we're only taking Bitcoin. And that's where Proppy really has its future. So I would just say that current 3 to 6 months, that's great. But this is really a vehicle for the next 5 to 10 years.
If I missed a coin, comment down below. I want to cover them all.
Probably missed a few. All right. Anybody just joining, let's recap this bish. Thanks to Altcoin Daily for the video. All right, let's do it. Bitcoin, $86,008. That's still crazy. We hit 89,000 last night. What was the all-time high, actually? Let's look. What did we hit? What did we hit? All-time high last night. It was about 6 hours ago. Actually, it was this morning. 6 hours ago. $89,864. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Ethereum at $32.59. Solana, $207. Still a Hadouken, even though it's in the red. We have Dogecoin. It was just at 40 cents when we started the stream. 40 cents. Dogecoin. Crazy. It's at 36 right now. 37. XRP is at 63 cents. 88 is at 57. I'm hoping this pulls back a bit more so I can jump back into it. Caspa, same thing. I want it to pull back a little bit more, about 12 cents or so I get back into it. Well, I mean, I have a bunch of Caspa, but just in general, I took some profits at 16 cents and I'm gonna throw it back in. We have LTC at $75. Let's see anything else jumping out at us? Not really. Where's Render? Render is up 11% today to $6.71. I think that's going to do well. It's an AI platform, so it should do fine. Or no, sorry, not AI platform. It's a rendering platform. That's hence the name. Let's see. Anything else? Crow's doing really well, actually. Oh, what the hell did I just do? There we go. It's at 16 cents right now, up 14% on the day. That's the crypto.com token. All right, let's see. There goes that one. Dogecoin still the biggest earner of the day. It's 28.7% up. We got Ray over here. Radium is the biggest loser of the day to $4.47, down 17.2%. Flashbang, anybody just joining? It is 80 on the Fear and Greed Index. Extreme Greed yesterday was 76. The faster this goes up, the faster the pullback's going to happen. My opinion, it's probably going to happen around Black Friday-ish when people sell, go on vacations, buy shit for Christmas, yada yada, and then we'll probably see another lift off December, end of December, January, when Trump gets back into office. That's probably what's going to happen. Just my opinion, not financial advice. First mistake would be taking financial advice from people on YouTube. Please don't do that. All right, guys, listen. Appreciate you for hanging out with me. I got to get back to daddy duty. Kids need to go to school. So you guys have a great, happy, and safe Tuesday. I'll catch you guys bright and early tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And until then, peace out and have a good day. Don't forget to take profits when it's necessary. Later.
If she don't hawk to her, we don't talk to her.
Eat shit, Gary.
Spit on that thing.
Eat shit, Gary.